Where's Fielder?
He's gone to the dogs.
Welcome to the Gone to the Dogs podcast. This is your host, Steve Fielder, coming at you one more time. This old gravelly voice will make it an hour, I hope. I've just about worn it out there in those White River bottoms. Wasn't really calling a dog, but when you go to Arkansas, you say "suey" a lot. So maybe that's what happened. But anyway, I'm really excited today. Well, not real excited, but I am pleased to have a couple of buddies with me here. We're calling this episode The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Now, you listeners out there will have to decide which one of us is the good one, which one's the bad one. And fortunately, you won't be able to see us, so you won't really know which one's the ugly. But anyway, I've got Keston Jesse from the state of Virginia, and I've got Nubbin Moore from the state of Alabama. So we should have a good time, fellas. How's everybody doing? How are you, Keston?
No, I'm doing good.
Deer season's over.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate to see it go, but I'm sort of happy it is. Be able to sleep in a little bit, start coon hunting more. And I've hunted pretty hard. Didn't kill nothing. It's still 2 weeks. No, it's in a week. The late muzzleload comes in, and I believe it lasts 2.5, right at 3 weeks, something like that. But
yeah,
it's pretty tough hunting during the late season. I will hunt some, but nothing like I was during November.
Nubbin, how about deer season? You doing any deer hunting?
Oh, no, I quit deer hunting a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, your son, Jeff.
Becky won't eat deer meat, so if you're not going to eat it, it's no use cooking it just for me. It's just the two of us here. So anyway, no use to kill it if you're not going to eat it.
Well, that's for sure. You had a little roadkill out there about a year ago or so.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get the back straps off that one?
No, I did. I thought about it, but I didn't do it. It hadn't been on the road long.
Yeah, fresh off the grill, right?
Fresh off the grill, yeah.
I got a roadkill cookbook around here somewhere, and that's the name of it. Fresh off the grill. It's got all kinds of recipes for possums and armadillos and all kind of good stuff. But, well, Keston, you say you didn't kill nothing. That doesn't mean that you didn't see some bucks.
No, I've seen several deer. I'm more of a horn hunter, I guess. It has to be pretty big before I kill it. But I let a lot of deer go that will be good for next year. I'm just real picky.
Well, I guess if you're a trophy hunter and you've killed several deer, which you have, I'm sure, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I got a whole room full of deer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nubbin, you and I both have kind of been pretty much hound hunters. I know you do a little turkey hunting, don't you?
I do. I hunt with my son every spring. We go stay a week somewhere every year.
Yeah.
I told Becky a few years ago, it's been 12 or 14 now. If I'm ever going to spend time with my son, I'm going to have to start turkey hunting. So I did. And
yeah.
we've been everywhere turkey hunting. And I've killed a few. I've got the Grand Slam of turkey hunters. That's what they call it when you kill each species that's in the U.S. There's 4 of them. So I've killed that, and I'm not even a turkey hunter. My son says I slip up on him and ambush him, but I've called some of them up, but he don't believe me. He's a turkey hunter. I'm not.
My brother. I have to tell this one, and I'll try to dress it up a little bit for our audience out there. We always try to kind of maintain a little bit of dignity on this show, not get way down there in the gutter with our language or anything. But my brother is the luckiest guy in the world when it comes to hunting. The first time he ever went deer hunting, he killed an 8-point. He sat up on the hill, about froze to death, and decided he was going to the truck. And about the time he decided he was going to go, here this deer walked out in the field right in front of him. He shot it. He went and got the truck, pulled it up there to the deer, and some other hunter come along and helped him load it in the back of the truck. He brought it by the office to show me. He said, Man, this deer hunting's easy. I don't know what the big deal is about it. But anyway, the first day he ever went turkey hunting, his father-in-law took him, and David is a real hunter. I mean, David Taylor from there in Tazewell, Virginia, and they went out there and they got out of the truck, and as we will sometimes do, nature will call, and sometimes we have what the cultured set would call flatulence. In other words, we got a little gas there. He had to relieve himself, and when he did, the turkey gobbled. And my brother said, I know where that turkey is. I'm going to sneak around. And he goes up and makes a wide circle and comes in behind that turkey and ends up killing that turkey the first day. And of course, his father-in-law was calling for him. But so anyway, little brother, he's lucky when it comes to deer and turkey, and he's caught a lot of coons over the years too, and a few bears. But I don't know. I've turkey hunted and enjoyed it, and but if it's not treed by a dog, I don't have a heck of a lot of interest in it. But
that's hard to sneak up on.
Yeah,
I said that's hard to do. Sneak up on a turkey.
Yeah. Well, don't you just go here, turkey, here.
Yeah.
You know, if a turkey could smell, you never would kill one.
No, because they can see way too good. They listen.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what they go on.
Yeah.
If you move, they're gonna see you.
Yeah, I mean, if they're inside 30, 40 yards, I mean, you just barely move. I mean, you move your finger like that and they'll catch it.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, the thing that was always kind of a mystery to me is I've heard people say that raise domestic turkeys that they're dumb and you have to put shiny objects like marbles or something in their feed to get them to peck at the feed so they will eat. Have you ever heard that at all?
No, I haven't.
But when you go out and talk to a turkey hunter, they say they're the most wary, smartest bird in the world, you know. So
they're smart. I'm telling you, I wouldn't call it smart. They just got a real good eyesight.
Mm-hmm. They are that survival of the fittest deal. They're well equipped to be on the lookout for predators and all that.
I'm nubbing this. I got one right here that I mounted.
Yeah, he's Keston's showing a full mount here. We can't see that, Keston, but I can, and that's a nice turkey right there.
It is a nice turkey.
Got a nice beard on him and all that. But let me see if I can call him up.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a turkey?
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
I used to be pretty good before this old voice. I can't even. I was telling my granddaughter the other day, I used to could sing. I sang in church and choir and all. Now I sound like a frog croaking. So, but Nubbin still sings. He sings solos in church and all that. But man.
Yeah, most of them so low you can't hear them.
That's right. That's right. Hey, well, you know, I got my American Cooner magazine. I'll give a little plug to Terry Walker, CNH Publishing out in Cesar, Illinois, publishes the American Cooner magazine. And that thing has been around forever. Unfortunately, like everything in print media, nowadays it's not quite as big and as full of ads and all as it used to be. But I write a column in there every month now. It's called Gone to the Dogs with Steve Fielder. And I've been pulling a lot of questions from listeners and answering them in the format there in the magazine. And so if you like your Coonhound news in hard copy form, something you can hold in your hand instead of look at it on the screen, you'll enjoy American Cooner. They do a good job. John Wick was a writer for many years for Cooner, and he's retired now. And but I told Terry I'd try to continue to write, as long as I can. So if you enjoy stories and news and ads and all that kind of stuff. But I just saw the issue that came out featuring the 2022 UKC World Championship that was held over in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Now, Nubbin and I have worked exclusively with that hunt. Well, not myself wasn't exclusively, but I did work with that hunt for many years. Started as a field rep way back in '78. Nubbin, what year did you start as a rep? Do you remember?
I don't really know what year. It was in the late 80s. I'm going to say 87, 88, something like that.
Yeah.
And then
Were you born yet, Keston?
I was born, yeah.
And no, was
Keston probably wasn't born.
I was born in 94.
Oh,
94.
see there, man.
Yeah.
94, I was still at UKC, but kind of, that wouldn't be long. 98's when I went to PKC.
Yeah, I was still on as a field rep in the mid-90s. I think I quit, I don't know, around 95 or so. I'm going to say 95.
Yeah.
Just got to work. It's too much.
Well, Jerry Mall, who worked as the field guy at PKC after I left there, posted a couple pictures today that I really enjoyed because it showed the PKC Breeders' Showcase in 2001 at Aurora, Kentucky. Listeners have heard me talk about the Tennis Center many times. I've done podcasts really that featured that. I had Rusty Jones on, and he remembered his days at the Tennis Center as the youth hunt was held there each year. But Jerry had posted a couple of pictures, and was the point being trying to pick out people you knew in those photos. But this is a big building, and it was packed to the rafters, as they say, from front to back, side to side, with coon hunters for the Breeders' Showcase. And those were the days for me. I started PKC in 98, and I left there in 2004. So that was kind of right in the middle of the time that I was there. What year did you come down, Nubbin, and we visited for the first time in several years?
I don't remember what year. It was in the late 90s, I would think.
I left there.
Yeah, I was working in Kentucky, and of course had the weekend off, and I drove over for the weekend, which was 100 miles or so. But then, it had to be them because I retired in 06. When I was 65, I retired and quit doing all that traveling around working. But it was in Kentucky. I remember that, and I'm going to say early 90s.
Yeah, I sure remember you being there, and it was quite a deal. A lot of people there, and a lot of people that I remember. And I bet you if I went to a large gathering of PKC hunters today, I wouldn't recognize probably a third of them. But back then, you knew all the regulars and all the people, that made up the bigger hunts. And it was a great time. It really was. I don't think there's ever been, as far as, the opening ceremonies and all the people in the building and all the stuff that was going on, I don't really think there's ever been a hunt quite like that. But I was looking through this cooner here, and Keston, you've always been kind of here in the last few years, or few months, my source of news. You kind of follow the social media and on these dogs and everything. But this little female that won the UKC World Championship, this Get Gone Jenna, is owned by Cheyenne Cummings and Tyler Compton out in Missouri, handled by Tyler. Man, she's a good-looking little heifer, and really did a great job at that World Championship. Have you followed anything on that dog, Keston?
I listened to his podcast. I can't remember who it was. I think it's Josh Michaelis. Done a podcast with him.
Yeah.
That's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the scorecard. They published the scorecard, and that's always kind of the where the rubber meets the road. You can really tell how the hunt went. And man, I mean, she, of course, there was 4 dogs in the final cast, and everybody knows how these world hunts work. They start off with the qualifiers, the RQEs, and then they move into the zone championships or the zone quarterfinals, we used to call them. There's more than 4 now. But anyway, she was hunting against a 6-year-old male walker, a 3-year-old male walker, uh, and also a 5-year-old male walker. So she was the only female in the cast. But she had 2 first strikes and 3 first trees. She had 1 25-point strike. She totaled 600 plus for the 2-hour hunt. So that's pretty darn impressive, I think. Anytime you can, she had 1 dog that withdrew, and the other scores in the cast were 150 and 125. So she made a statement there. Wouldn't you say, Nubbin?
I would, yes. She's bound to have been getting off by herself and treeing them raccoons.
Yeah, she showed to be a strike dog, with 2 firsts. Now she's apparently had to be struck back in on a track. I guess it was open and there for a quarter, or maybe in on the same original track. But just a shout out to those guys, for winning the world championship and doing it in a significant way. I looked at her pedigree here. They posted all of that, and she was out of a dog called Bones Backwater Banjo, and he was out of Bone Collector, and Kaufman's Backwoods Barbie. I don't know anything about that female. Then on the bottom side was the Mafia's Redneck Baby was her mother. Redneck Mafia was her sire, and then Rat's High Country Ann. So I imagine the Rat High Country Ann female was a Rat Attack dog, maybe either directly out of Rat Attack or down the line somehow. But anyway, World Hunt Time's always an exciting time of the year. Do you remember much about the World Hunt, Snubbin?
Yeah, years ago. It's a lot different what it is now. I went to several of them, hunted in them. I got in the top 20, and I think that was 85. And my dog was wore out hunting every night, and I didn't have him in shape to compete a whole week. So the last night he never, before I raised him, and I'd never seen him not hunt till that night, but he would just give out. But the next year I had him in shape, but I didn't get the breaks to get in there. That's the way it goes. A lot of luck too. A lot of drawing the right places.
Well, I think that's definitely the case with coon hunting. And I think we saw a little bit of that at the White River this year. It seemed to me like the guys I talked to and the posts and so forth that I've seen on social media since we got back, that it depended on where you were. Some of the boys seemed to get into coons, and then others didn't. And it seemed like the coon population was not consistent across the board. But now we did talk to...
It could have had a little bit to do with dog power, too.
No. We can't go there now, man. We took our dogs. What do you mean, dog power?
Well, that's what I said. I told a guy from North Carolina, we need to swap dogs. He just laughed.
That's right.
Now we made a lot of big leafy trees, and we made a slick persimmon one night. That's unheard of in coon hunting, isn't it? Slick persimmon.
Do you have persimmon trees in Virginia, Keston?
I'll just be honest with you. I don't even know what they are. I wouldn't know if I walked by one.
Yeah. Well, they're not a big tree, and usually the leaves fall off of them pretty early, and they have a round fruit on them. What would you describe it? More like a peach?
Well, it could be like a peach, and it's hard to start with, and then it gets soft when it falls off the tree. They're edible. When they're green, they're not edible, but they taste good. And the coons and deer, all the wild game eat the persimmons.
But the problem with any coon hunter that hunts where they grow knows that dogs most of the time don't have a coon when they tree.
That's right.
On a persimmon tree.
Most of the time they're slick. I remember one time years ago, we have a guy named Gary Neal Hayes. We called him Frog. His dog tree, and we walked up the tree, and he got a limb, was fixing to whip his dog, run him off. I said, Frog, shoot that coon before you whip the dog. And he said, what? There was a coon up there, but you usually don't see one up there.
What's your theory on it? Why you think they miss on them?
I don't know, unless they eat them persimmons and get it all over their feet, and then when they come down, the dogs don't smell them. That's what I think, but I don't know. But a lot of times the dogs are treating it slick. It's a slick trade. Sometimes you see a possum or a coon up there, but most of the time you don't see anything.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the popular consensus that they get that scent on them, and it must be fairly intense, and it just cancels out their natural odor. That's the only thing I can explain, but they sure enough will tree slick on a persimmon. I saw on our first Grand Slam hunt that we had at UKC. It was at Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and we had some plus points, and then we had no plus points because they treed on a persimmon tree, and then we had to keep walking. The one dog had minused out, and we were down to a 2-dog final, and we tried hard and went through all the overtime periods and ended up paying the money on minus points, or maybe it was circle points. But anyway, we did not have a total score plus because of a persimmon tree. They treed on a hillside in a pasture field, and there was an oak tree, and then there was this persimmon tree, and then there was a pine. And the persimmon was between the two, but it didn't touch either one of those other trees. And the dogs thought that they had him, and sounded good too. But
they'll tree hard on them persimmon trees now.
Well, that's yeah. Go ahead.
Those persimmons, after they get ripe, are real good to eat. They're good and tasty, and they make good wine too.
Mm-hmm. Well, if anybody knows how to make wine out of something, you do. That's for sure. But, this was funny. Another little story. One time my dad and a guy that I grew up with back in West Virginia, we went out on a Sunday afternoon and took what you boys in the South would call croaker sacks. We'd call them burlap bags or sacks. We had found an old homestead way out on this point of an old strip mine, and we'd been coon hunting in there probably the night before, and there were apple trees around there, and they were just full of apples. And I don't remember, they were a red apple. I don't know if it was wine sap or red delicious or what, but my dad loved apples. And he said, we're going to go out there and get those apples before they all fall off and the game gets them or somebody else does. We carried these sacks, and, man, we loaded ourselves down with apples. We had all we could carry, and I don't know how far it was to walk, but it was a long way. But on the way, we found a persimmon tree, and my dad played a trick on Herb. Now, Herb is not your average bumpkin. He retired as a brigadier general in it was either the Air Force Reserve or the Air National Guard. But anyway, he convinced Herb to take a bite of a green persimmon. Have you ever done that, Nubbin?
Oh yeah, but it's you don't. One time's all you'll do it. It tastes terrible. It'll pucker your lips
Keston,
up.
that thing, you could take one bite of it and it will instantly dry up every ounce of saliva in your mouth, where the inside of your mouth feels like sandpaper.
Really?
It will
That's terrible.
turn your mouth inside out. I mean, it's a bad deal. So this goes further. So we go that evening, as was our custom. We always went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. That was the routine at my house when I grew up. There was a lady named Mary in our church, very sweet lady. And she would always kid around with us and stuff. And we were fairly young then. Herb brought in a green persimmon and said, "Oh, Mary, you got to try these. These are the best thing I've ever tasted." And he got her to take a bite of that thing. Never forget that. I don't think she probably ever forgave him either.
Say not.
But anyway, when I was at PKC, they used to come in the door and I'd say, "How'd you do?" And they'd say, "Ma'am, all we did was tree fruit tonight." That meant they treed those persimmon trees. Well, Nubbin, let's talk a little bit about our White River trip this year. People know that we go every year. I counted up. My first year was 2010. So that actually made this my 13th year. You'd think 22 would be 12. But
That's true. We didn't trade
count
many
all the
coons.
years.
13's unlucky, so that was the 13th year.
Lucky 13.
Mm-hmm.
Keston, we've talked about you while we were out there. We talked about we're going to have to get you out there.
All right, I'll go. I like to go. Hey, something, though, that I noticed, you said big wavy trees. The leaves ain't fell off down there?
No, not all of them.
Some of them are. I told Miss Ella today. Yeah, I told Miss Ella today. I said I got to go through our fall color tour all over again because the leaves were all just turned nicely, oranges and yellows and stuff. Of course, it's flat. It's not the mountain views like you got in Virginia, but yeah, there's still a lot of leaves out there right now.
What time of year could you go out there and miss all the leaves, like not have no leaves?
Well,
I don't know.
They're coming off now. The leaves are coming off, but they're not all off. There's some on the ground, but there's still plenty up there. And if you don't have one of them heat sinking things, you ain't gonna find them. Sometimes, and I tell Steve, the coons are easier to find if they're up there.
Yeah.
And
and we've always been challenged in that regard. Well, Kes, you need to know that that refuge is not open year round. I think it closes is it the end of this month, Nubbin?
Yeah, end of
December. See, it opens about the 17th of November, the north unit, and then one portion of that, called Kansas Lake, closes the 1st of December, and that's when the south unit opens. And the south unit's only open for 2 weeks. So that's where most of the guys are hunting right now. As we're recording this, it's the 7th. By the time this airs, it'll be real close. This one will air on December 12th. So they'll be pretty close to shutting it down as far as the south unit, and then they can still hunt the north, I believe, to the end of the month. I have to check that.
Have y'all ever hunted the south unit?
Yeah, we did this year, part of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, we hunted 2 nights, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we had intended to hunt more, and then I think everybody just kind of, after about 5 nights, everybody just kind of started saying, well, it's going to rain tonight. Maybe, we were going to have to make a little switch in our lodging because of a prior commitment. So the place we usually stay, we could only stay 5 nights this year. So we were going to have to move up the road about, I think it said about a mile. And as we were kind of getting everything around to move, it was like a snowball. Pretty soon we were all talking about going home. So that's what we did.
Well, they started talking about it's going to rain. So then that's what started us to think, since we were packing anyway, why don't we go home? And that's what we wound up doing. But, you know, Keston, we did hunt 2 nights on the South Unit. Big, pretty woods, but a lot of hunters. There was a lot of hunters. Seemed to me like more hunters than they've ever been. You know, you could hear dogs in several areas just about any time you'd listen. But, there.
Well, we've kind of caught some flack nubbing over the last few years, and I'll take maybe most of the blame for that, about telling people about the White River Refuge. Maybe I'm a little different than other people. That doesn't belong just to me, although I'm a public landowner, as are you, and as is Keston and everybody else that hunts. That belongs to us, to everybody. And, you know, I was invited out there, but, you know, that the way I look at that is I was invited to go as that part of that group. But I could have gone out there anytime I wanted to, and there was no way anybody could have stopped me because it's public land. It belongs to the United States. But, of course, when you're invited by a group of people and they've, you know, and you've been ushered into that group, so to speak, you want to respect that. And I do. I still do. But anyway, I believe, Nubbin, you may disagree with me here, I believe there was more hunters out there this year than I've seen in the last 5 years combined at the White River.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of them. You know, everywhere we went, you could see a truck on the side of the road, or you'd hear a side-by-side running, you'd hear dogs treed. The dogs would come to, one time a dog, Kate, was treed by herself, and there was a walker dog come to her. Of course, it was a slick tree. We didn't find a coon. So we pulled my dog off and left, and that dog stayed treed over there for a couple of more hours. And I guess somebody finally come in there and got it. I don't know.
But that said, you know, I saw where a guy from West Tennessee posted just yesterday, whatever, that there was a hunter behind every tree. But we still, the nights that we hunted on the North Unit before the South Open, we didn't encounter a lot of hunters up there. I mean, there were a few, but we didn't encounter a lot of hunters. And I always remember my dog, when I had old Hoss, when he first went out there, he was a joiner. If he wasn't doing anything and he heard dogs tree, it was party on. You know, and I would get phone calls, or I'd follow the Garmin, and I'd have to go around and get him, you know. So I remember Coy Sullivan one year called me and said he had the dog had come to his tree. And I remember he had the Jessie Jane female, was just a pup in his box that night that I went around and picked up old Hoss. But I don't know, it just seemed to me like, especially when we went down into the South Unit there in an area that we don't normally hunt, that hunters were just everywhere.
Mm-hmm. There was plenty of them.
Y'all don't worry about somebody picking your dogs up?
No, I have not ever heard of any experience of anybody picking somebody else's dog up, you know, with the intent to steal the dog. No, I maybe somebody else can enlighten us on that, but I have never heard of that happening. Just the opposite.
I haven't either. Normally, it's all coon hunters, and they got dogs in the woods, and they're worried about their dogs getting up with them, and sometimes they get behind water. I don't know if that one female got behind water or what, but it stayed treed over at least 2 more hours. after we left. And,
Was that the real hard tree dog that you
yes,
were
he was a
hearing?
nice tree dog. Yeah.
You would have paid admission, Keston, just to sit there and listen to that dog tree.
Oh yeah, you know me. I like a good hard tree dog.
Man,
No.
and I was with Mark Miller, and that was the night that we decided to come back and leave the side by side at the lodge and go back, just hunt off the road, pulling off the side of the road, and man, that dog was treed back in there, and nobody ever did go to her or him, I don't know which. While we were there, and it was just solid every breath, ringing
she
like
never
a
did quit
bell.
tree.
Yeah. But it's a big country, Keston, 166,000 acres. And that flat country, the sound carries a long way. So, but boy, on Thursday night, though, when the South, everywhere, we had gone out and scouted that day. Was it that day we scouted or the day before?
The day, I think it was the day before.
Day before. And man, every place we had marked on Onyx, there was already a group of hunters there unloading their side-by-sides or four-wheelers and getting their dogs ready. And so we went all the way, we kind of went to the end of the road, so to speak. And we ended up, there was a group of hunters that came around us. That's when we, right off the bat, man, we had a good track and it sounded good, and we got treed. Had 4 dogs. Had Kate, Nubbins, Walker female. Had Mark's 2 dogs, Dixie and Crockett, and then the plot that he and I owned together, Fever. And they all got treed together, didn't they, Nubbin?
Oh,
Weren't they all together?
Yeah, they was. Mm-hmm.
And that's where there was nothing up there except persimmon.
That was that first persimmon tree.
So we went from a real high to a pretty low right out of the box.
Well, do y'all go around the same time every year? Do y'all think maybe that was the difference this year? Y'all maybe went a day or two earlier or later and more people are?
I don't know. I don't think that had. It's just when the thing opens, people from all over. You see people from several different states there. Because just like Steve said, they've heard about the place, read about it in the magazine, coon hunting magazines, and then they think, well, we need to go out there, and then they show up, and they look at the map.
And you have those.
We had those years ago. Now that's nothing new. There's always been people out there. I've been going out there for years, and there's always been people there, but it seems like there's more now.
Yeah,
but another problem out there is water. That's low land, and there's lakes and there's sloughs, and a lot of places you can't get to your dog unless you go way around. I know my buddy Keith Durkee went with us this year, and he went to his dog was 1,000 yards, and he walked by himself in that tour. And when he came back, he went a little left-handed and got behind a lake. And I could see his light over there through the woods, and he wasn't coming to the truck no more. He kept going to my right. And I thought, what is he doing? And then as I drove, I just kept following him on the road because the road went down beside that lake, but he was behind that lake and couldn't cross it. He had to walk all the way to the main road and then come around the end of the lake. But, that's one of the problems out there, too, is water. Yeah. But it's still a lot of fun. It's a lot of woods, a lot of game most of the time. Of course, I tell Steve it was dog fire this year.
I think you're right.
We're older than we used to be, not like you, Keston. After we make 3 or 4 trees, I'm ready to go to the cabin anyway. A lot of guys hunt most of the night, by 10 o'clock. I think it's time to go. But,
well, we usually start off the night thinking, we're going to hunt 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock and all that. But if we're out that late, there's something has happened. And we did have a couple of instances.
Somebody stuck somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, you got somebody stuck in. Well, we'll just kind of go down the list and say, I think the first episode that we had was Jamie and Trey Perrin from there in Alabama, who live close to you. Know they have been. This is their second year to be in camp with us, and they hunt a couple of Walker dogs, Boomer and Buster. And were you hunting with Jamie the night Buster decided to go down that steep bank on the lake?
No, I don't. I think Durkee might have been with him, and Kevin was with him. Kevin Phillips.
Yeah, Kevin Heron,
Yeah,
our
Harry.
good friend Philip Heron's grandson was along.
Grandson.
And that White River is low this year. In fact, all the rivers and sloughs are low compared to what they normally are out there. And the dog somehow got down over this very steep bank. I don't know where he fell down there or he got down at a different place and trailed around the lake or what, but he was stuck. He wouldn't move.
Well, he was actually treed, Steve. He was actually treeing up the bank. I think he thought the coon went up the bank and went in the hole, and he was barking, treed. He didn't go left or right. He stayed in the same spot. And when they finally got there, well, we had to call a friend of ours to get him to come over at 2:00 in the morning with a boat, put the boat in and go up the river. And of course, they drove right to the dog and loaded him up. But he was actually treeing up that bank, either barking, trying to get out, but Trey thought he was treeing. He thought he had the coon treed in that bank. But anyway.
Well, just before we went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. So but that's good to if for those of you who are aspiring to go out there to have the access to some water rescue, because you can get in those situations. Well, there was that. Of course, when I got out there, my four-wheeler wouldn't run. I talked about how I like this used stuff and all that, and I get out there. For some reason, it'd start fine, but it wouldn't idle. It wouldn't run. It'd idle fine, but it wouldn't take the gas. So anyway, it's in the shop now. So I didn't get to use that. But thank goodness we had a big side-by-side there that Mark Miller brought out, and we made use of that. So I had an Uber driver all week for me.
Steve, sometimes I might wait. Sometimes I'll just idle and it won't take the gas. The older you get,
you get
that. Yeah, I know so. I don't think I know so.
Well,
now, one thing that happened to Steve Keston on the way home after he left here, going on to Florida, he had a blowout on his trailer. His tire blew out on the trailer, and he was on the side of the interstate having to get the four-wheeler off the trailer and get it jacked up. And he did have a spare, luckily.
Yeah, he told me about four-wheeler messed up, then he had a blowout. He had all kinds of trouble.
It kind of reminds me that one year we went out to that Black and Tan reunion at Mariana that they hold every Thanksgiving. And while we were out there, I had a flat on the trailer, and then Jarvis Humphers he had flats on both sides of his trailer, I think.
Yeah.
Ended up having to leave it sitting in a field. Yeah. And then Tam Young, another well-known coon hunter, was there, and he had broke the steering column on his Kawasaki Mule and had it all patched up with a ratchet strap. You remember that, Nubbin? Had a ratchet strap
to guide the thing.
Coon hunters will survive, we will survive. Well, we also had an instance when the dogs kind of blew out through the country, and we ended up having to drive around on the highway and get them. And so we had some interesting situations, but overall, it's just so much territory that you don't get into a whole lot of that sort of thing. I don't think anybody. Yeah.
In the end, is all us in, and a good time was had by all, and it was a good time. But we ate really good, didn't we, Steve?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, that's the main event for me. Every year is to go for the food, because oh boy, when
Yeah.
Randy
One night,
Smith, the Mrs. Yeah, go ahead.
I said one night we had some soup the first night, and then the next night we had fried crappie, hush puppies, and French fries and coleslaw.
Coleslaw. Mm-hmm.
And the next night we had fried frog legs, onion rings, and coleslaw. And the next night we had crappie again and had rattlesnake with it. Randy had killed a big rattlesnake and skinned it and brought it out. And I told him to bring it because I've ate rattlesnake 3 or 4 times. And because we cut the back strap out of it, cut it in about 3 or 4 inch long pieces and flattened it with a saucer and breaded it and fried it just like the fish. And everybody ate the rattlesnake. Some of them wouldn't eat it, but it was good.
I hope it was legal.
Yeah.
I
hope it was
if
too.
It was. What was that guy's name? Joe Smith?
Yeah, his name was Joe Smith. Yeah, that was.
Hey, and Keston, we also had one morning for breakfast. Mark Miller, he told us about killing that bear. I think on an episode or 2 back, he brought us some bear sausage.
Really?
And it was peppered up and all. And that was pretty darn good, I thought.
It was good, almost as good as Tennessee Pride.
Yeah, now we like that Tennessee Pride sausage.
Yeah, that's right, I do.
Do they sell that in the stores in Virginia?
Yeah.
Keston? I always remember my dad from Tennessee, and Hickory Smoke Country sausage is kind of like a specialty there, and it is in Virginia too. I know smoked hams and all that's a big thing. But they had this little guy on the commercials. He'd say, "Take home a package of Tennessee Pride."
Yeah, I remember that.
See, you spell Tennessee with the number 10, and then the letter E, and then the letter C. That's how you spell Tennessee. It's not Tennessee. It's Tennessee.
Well, it all sounds like good food. I believe the only thing that I'd have had problems eating would have been the rattlesnake. I don't believe that.
You should have heard Trey Perrin.
Trey said he wasn't going to anything it had anything to do with poison, although it was only in the mouth. But after we ate it, I reached out like I was striking at him,
Hey, there's a video on, I can't remember if it's on Facebook, TikTok, something. And they had a rattlesnake, and they had skinned it, gut it, and everything. It wasn't nothing but a 4-foot long piece of meat, and that thing was still coiled up striking.
It will. Yeah. It'll work. A snake will move around. If you cut its head off, it'll move around for hours.
But they had cut its head off, skinned it, gutted it, and everything. I mean, it was ready to throw on the skillet, and it's still moving. I just couldn't handle eating that.
Well, I guess
you couldn't hit a moving target, huh?
Yeah, the only place his poison is in his mouth anyway. So you cut his head off, ain't no poison left.
But I think the general consensus was the rattlesnake was actually better than the frog legs. And I do like frog legs. Man, they were good. They were excellent.
It was all good.
As a
and I ate too much, Cass, and I gained 4 or 5 pounds while I was out there. But this week I've been sort of slacked off on my eating. I need to lose it because I couldn't even get my pants buttoned up.
Well, we had I brought a big jug of homemade, what we call hamburger soup.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good hit. And Mark's wife sent out some white chicken chili. And we had that the first night. And, of course, I had to make some cornbread to go along with that soup. And Morris Hardy makes some hush puppies that are just out of sight good. I mean, with the little jalapeno in them, little pieces. And so, yeah, we don't go hungry. And then we didn't even mention breakfast, which is gravy and biscuits every morning, scrambled eggs, fried sausage, some nubbin broth, some homemade muscadine jelly. Ooh, that stuff was good. Mm-hmm. Really good.
What about today to pass time?
Well, when you're old like us, we always, the routine, we can talk about that, Nubbin. We used to get up. First thing you do is take care of the dogs, check them out, make sure they got water, and feed them a little. However, everybody feeds a little different, I think. And then mainly we just kind of knock around, go to town, anything we need in DeWitt, which is about 15 miles away, and pick up things like that. There's a sporting goods store in DeWitt, Arkansas called Webb's. I call it a mini Cabela's or Bass Pro. I mean, they got a good selection of stuff,
they do.
high end stuff in there. They got a big archery section, of course, a big, supplies and clothing equipment for waterfowl hunting's a big thing, deer hunting, all kinds of good brands of outdoor clothes, boots, ammunition for anything you need, I guess. It's just a great place to go. I always go in there and look around and end up spending money usually. But so we just do stuff like that, or maybe go out and scout for places to hunt that we haven't hunted before, and that's kind of what we do. But we eat about 4:00, I think it's about when we have supper, and then it gets dark about 5:30, I believe. Am I right, Nub?
Yeah, 5:30. I always like to get there by dark anyway.
The rule, we always drag
try
on.
To beat them others to the spot.
Nubbin's always hurrying us. Come on, we got to go. But it's short days, really, And
well, we try to take a nap. I always try to take a nap too in the middle of the day. Of course, Keston Young, he don't take naps in the daytime.
No.
Do you, Keston? You take naps?
No, but I don't. Well, it depends. If I got something I got to do, I get up pretty early. But if I ain't got nothing to do and I've hunted all night, I'll sleep till about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
Well, you'll miss breakfast because we usually eat about 9, something like that.
Yeah, there's somebody always stomping up and down the hall waking me up.
Yeah.
But no, I can hunt all night long. I can start at dark and go to daylight.
Well, I used to do that too. I remember years ago, we would turn loose one time after daylight every Saturday morning, hunting on Friday night. Of course, we worked during the week, but on Friday night, we'd turn loose one time after daylight and then get home about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
This is, as this is the Gone to the Dogs podcast. I'll use this little opportunity to plug my book, Gone to the Dogs, A Coon Hunter's Journey. It's 200 pages, 22, I believe, chapters, all about coon hunting, about my years at the registries and all the years that I've been addicted to this sport. It is available online at stevefielderbooks.com. I also have a hat called with the Gone to the Dogs logo. It's a trucker's cap or ball cap, you might call it. Solid front, mesh back. Each of those items are normally $25. If you want to buy one for somebody for Christmas, you better hurry. I've got a special bundle price for $40 for both of them. stevefielderbooks.com. And that brings up, Nubbin, when we were down there scouting in the South Unit the other day, we ran into a fella that was there just getting his camp set up, and he had a Walker female there. And you weren't with me, though. That was Mark and me, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, but you were part of this story because, well, the guy came over to the truck and we were talking to him there. Really nice fella. And he said he just hunts out of his truck and drops his dog, along the road there in places. He said he tried to stay off those trails to stay out of the way of the other hunters. But anyway, he looked at my hat and said, Gone to the Dogs. And he said, what's that all about? He said, I was downtown earlier today and I saw two fellas with those hats on like that. And, of course, he was talking about DeWitt, Arkansas. And the best I can figure, the guys were Nubbin and Keith Durkee or down there. But I started to be smart, and I'd say, well, it's a secret. And if I tell you, I'll have to kill you. But, I thought, well, nah, this is a nice guy. But so the word's getting around, Gone to the Dogs. And I think Trey Perrin picked up on it through the weekend. He was always saying, where's so-and-so? Where's it? He'd say, they're gone to the dogs. So we always have good time.
You need to interview Trey. Put him on the podcast one day.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That young man is never at a loss for words.
Oh, no.
I guarantee you he'll fill this hour and a half up with no problem. But he's a hunter. I'll say that for Trey. He'll follow his dog.
Oh, yeah, he will. He'll be gone to the dogs. And he's been doing that since he was about 10 years old.
I remember when his daddy would bring him to Black and Tan Days or one of the PKC hunts, and here's this little dude with this real high-pitched voice. You hear it all over the grounds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was Trey.
Trey and Jamie all their life. In fact, I used to hunt with Trey's granddaddy years ago before he passed away. But so I've been knowing him. They just like family.
Okay, I'm going to open a can of worms here. And we'll see where it gets us. It may get us fired or whatever. But and I will mention real quickly the WU Hunting Supply, DUSupply.com. Buddy Woodbury, Jason Doobie, all the staff out there, they do a great job of providing anything that a hounds person needs. Apparel, supplies, electronics. They always service what they sell. They got a great line of books on their website and all, and we want to thank them for allowing us to do this every week. DUSupply.com. I want to talk a little bit about dog food. And it's kind of like blondes and brunettes or Chevys and Fords. Everybody likes something different. And there's a lot of talk about this dog food and that dog food and which one's the best. And there tends to be trends. I've observed this myself over the years. I've seen a brand get hot for a while. Everybody's going to it. Everybody's got to have it. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then first thing you know, something else comes along. And we're experiencing that a little bit. Somebody at the door? I heard somebody knock on the door there.
Yeah, but they can't come in.
Anyway, we were talking, Keston, you and me. We've got a couple of dogs together. If it weren't for you and for Mark Miller, I guess I wouldn't have any coon dogs. But I partner with you on 2 Walker females. One of them's a puppy. Well, they're both pups, really, but one's now past a year old. And we've been talking about dog food. And I'm going to just kind of lay this out here, and I certainly don't mean to criticize or belittle or in any way degrade or disparage anyone from using any brand of dog food. But the brand that I have always used and depended on and loved and still do has gotten so expensive that I can't feed it. I went and bought a bag of Pro Plan puppy chow. It's a chicken-based formula for this, and that's what we fed this dachshund that we have here. He's just now a year old. $70 for a 30-some pound bag at Tractor Supply. $70 for a bag of dog food. I know that a lot of people are not paying that much money. They're buying other feeds, and rightfully so. I love Purine. I've been I love those people. I went to their research farm years ago, and I saw the amount of money that they put into research and development and all of that stuff. And I said then, and I still stand by it, if they're not producing the best dog food out there, they sure are missing a lot. Wasting a lot of money, because they sure do put the money into the process of building their food. And so this is not a criticism of Purina's product in any way, shape, or form. In fact, Nubbin, I believe you feed Purina to Kate, don't you?
I do. I feed the Purina dog chow. I feed the lamb flavored. She seems to like that better. But I just have one dog. I used to keep 3 or 4 all the time. But the older I get, I have one dog, and that's all I need. And I used to buy the 50-pound sack years ago, but now with just one dog, I buy the 18-pound sack. And, when I feed it up, I go get another one. I don't know. Really, Kirsten asked me a while ago what it costs. I don't know. I don't really remember what it costs, but when I get it, I just pick up a bag with my groceries and pay for it. But I like Purina, and Kate does. If I hunted every night, like Keston or like Trey and like a lot of folks, I'd have to get some high-powered feed with more protein in it. But I just, I'll be 82 my birthday, and I don't hunt as much as I used to. But I still try to go 1-2 nights a week. So, and the dog stays good and healthy on it. So that's all I can say about it.
Well, and that's, I think, the way most people are, and I'm going to go ahead and continue to feed it to this Dachshund, because he doesn't eat much. It takes him a long time to eat 37 or whatever that poundage is on that bag now. And I can afford to do that, but do I want to do that when I can maybe buy a feed that's as good or that he will do as well on it for less money? And I know that advertising has to come into play and a lot of things. And I'm probably going to get some criticism from some of my buddies in the Purina organization.
Let me say this about, a dog will eat turnip greens. If you feed it to them for about 3 weeks, they'll start eating it. So they'll eat anything, but it's not necessarily good for them. But they'll eat turnip greens after a while.
Yeah. Keston, what are your thoughts?
I think I've always fed the Purina, and well, I always have up until today. I bought a different type today, but the reason I don't feed the Purina 1 or the Purina Pro Plan, I feed the Purina 1 because I buy it at Walmart, and that they don't have the Pro Plan. So I ain't never tried the Pro Plan, but I'm just looking for something that my dog can hold up a little better on. He does all right hunting 3 or 4 nights a week, but when you start hunting him 6, 7 nights a week, he starts looking pretty poor. So I've tried something more different this time.
Well, I know that down through the years, I have somebody's trying to get a hold of me, and it's a bad time. The United States is calling me. You think I ought to take it?
No.
I love to hit the green button where they think that I've answered and they got a sucker on the line. Then I hit that red one. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
But anyway, old Hoss lived to be almost 12 years old. When I got Hoss, he was 3 months old. Kevin Lundholm up in Ohio told me he was feeding Diamond puppy chow. And he'd send a bag of it down. And as soon as that, well, not a bag, but just a plastic bag. And another thing that he sent along, he said his wife had been giving him these Old Roy peanut butter dog biscuits. And I wrote an article about that in American Cooner magazine. Old Hoss had 2 or 3 of those every day of his life for the entire time I owned him. I fed, like you said, Keston, I fed Purina 1 to that dog for probably more than 11 years. That's all he had. I didn't try to switch. I would sometimes go from a veal or lamb to a chicken base, back and forth, but it was always Purina 1. That dog had no health issues related to feed that I know of for his whole life, and he had a mouth when he was nearly 12 years old that looked like a 3-year-old dog. He still had all his front teeth. They weren't worn down into the quick. They weren't, he had a little tartar back in the back of his mouth. But, and I attributed that a lot to those dog biscuits because they were crunchy, But I have always had great success with Purina. I guess the bottom line I'm saying here, from my standpoint, is I just wish they could get the price down to where more people could afford it, because I think it's a good feed. But now we've been talking about here feeding, and I think that's what you picked up today, Kesson, was value pack. Is that right?
Yeah.
And why was it that we decided to get value pack?
Well, it's $38 for 50 pounds, and if you buy the Purina 1, I want to say it's 37 pounds for $56.
But why did we have to go to value pack?
Because that's
because we couldn't get what?
Joy. I was going to go for Joy, but no Joy dealers around me. I mean, they are, but they're an hour and a half up the road. And that's the only two options we had, is value pack or Purina. So,
yeah.
And
or Old Roy.
Roy, yeah. And we'll try the value pack. I'll try it for about 2 months, and if I don't like it, I'll go back to Purina. And it's just you just don't get much of the Purina. I mean, the biggest bag Walmart sells here where I'm at is 37 pounds, and that just don't last very long with 3 dogs.
Yeah, you have to go, I think, to Sam's Club. Maybe you can get the bigger bags or whatever. I don't even know if you can buy Pro Plan in Sam's Club. I don't know.
Well, I actually got online, and I started to just start ordering my dog food and getting the Purina Pro Plan. And it just seems like so much trouble to have to do like that when I can run across the road and buy a bag.
Well, yeah, that's it. And convenience is a big part of today, of our lives today, because time is money. If you're, running up and down the highway, you're spending money because of the gas prices. Thank you, Brandon. But it's, convenience is a big factor. And so anyway, I would encourage my friend Chip Kozer out there with Joy to step up the game a little bit on these dealer networks and get more of these guys out here. If they're wanting Joy, then they need to be able to get it. And I realize it's not all that easy. It's all a big picture, and we really have this supply chain problem in this country right now is hurting a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
And, value pack versus Purina, I know people that right here that bear hunt and stuff that feed value pack, and I know people that feed Purina. And, for the price difference, I really don't see one man's dog's looking better than the other. They all look good. So they can't be too awful much of a difference. Because these guys bear hunting, I mean, they're hunting a lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're a lot more active than a coon dog.
Well, I know Mark that's on with us sometimes, Mark Miller, he feeds value pack. And I have never fed it, personally. Of course, it's been a while since I've had a dog here. But anyway, that's our little thing on dog food, a little bit of a rant, I guess, a little bit of a complaint about the prices of dog food. Of course, I went in the public supermarket here in Florida, Port Richey, yesterday, picked up 1.5 dozen of extra large eggs, hen eggs. $9.15, I believe it was, for 1.5 dozen eggs. Man, that's crazy.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And just a dozen was over $6. So if I'd have bought 2 of those, that would have been $12 for, well, actually a dozen and a half. It would have been, no, that would have been the same. It'd have been $9 plus. So anyway, it is what it is, fellas, but we got to, hopefully we'll do something, because the cost of feeding hounds has really gone up. The cost of going to the woods has gone up in terms of the cost of gasoline. If you've tried to buy a new pickup truck lately, yeah, well, forget that. There's no new pickup trucks in my future. I can tell you that for sure. So anyway, it's all economics, and it's not good right now, and I hope it gets better. All right, let's talk about puppies just a minute. We got a little time here, and then we're going to wrap this up. How old do you say, Nubbin, that it would be the best age to start fooling with a pup?
Well, now, it's been a long time since I raised a pup, but what I used to do when they was 4 or 5 months old, I'd start walking to the woods with them. Not taking them coon hunting, just walking them in the woods. Walking, wading in the creeks and the branches, or getting them used to water, just playing with them. And then when they got 6, 8 months old, sometimes I might take them a little bit coon hunting, but I just turn them loose one time, let them see what the other dogs are doing. And usually by the time they're 10, 11 months old, they're going to hunting and running some, but I wouldn't hunt them, wouldn't hunt them very long till they got a little older, because I think you can burn a pup out. And that's what I always try to do. I might use a cage coon or hide and have put down the drag when they was young, but I wouldn't do that very much either. And then if I turned a coon loose, I wouldn't let them see me turn them loose maybe the first time or two. After that, I would turn a coon loose and go back and get the dog and just walk him across the track, because I don't think you need to turn many loose and let them see you turn a coon loose. And that's the way I always started mine.
Well, Keston, I know that you have a puppy that we purchased together out of the Frogger dog that's pretty popular right now. And how old is she now? We figure up she's about 3.5 months old, isn't she?
Yeah, she's coming 4 months old, I believe.
Yeah. Now, you have been, I know that you really haven't fooled with her in terms of trying to get her to start, but you have been taking her along, haven't you?
Yeah, I'll take her. I don't take her every night I go, maybe 2 nights a week, just to get her out and teach her how to get through fences, cross creeks, just that sort of thing. Just, I guess, but just being used to being out in the dark.
Yeah. And I think the important thing that guys out there may be getting a nice pup this winter is to remember is, just take it slow with them. Don't try to push them, You see parents of children, they enroll them in kindergarten right away. They've got plans that kid's going to be the valedictorian of the class. So they push them into sports, push them into soccer, football, baseball, basketball, tennis, golf. You got to do this, you got to do that. Push. Unfortunately, a lot of those kids don't want to do all those things. Not that they're bad. I think it's good for kids to be involved in things in school. But anyway, the point being, I think you can do too much too soon with a pup, and as Nubbin says, you can burn them out. But if they're natural and they're progressing at their own pace, and, I'm also a proponent of letting them go, not holding them back. But,
and that taking her out there like that, when I do take her, I don't expect nothing out of her. It's mainly, just exercise. Like I was saying, getting her out, going through fences and stuff. But, I turn them loose and, she'll take off. I mean, she'll already go 200 250 yards before she comes back. But I don't get all excited and start screaming. I don't call her back. I pretty much just ignore her. I let her play. She'll pick up a stick, run with it, and fall and barrel roll. She's just learning stuff. Other night, she got shocked by a fence the first time. I mean, walked right up to it and just smelled it and just stuck that nose right to it. Telling you, pretty rough. And I just sort of ignored her, and it went 2 or 3 minutes, and she was back to chewing on my ankles and running around again, back over smelling that same fence. I thought, yeah, she's gonna get it again right here. Yeah.
Well, you remember John Wick's book? He showed you how you just run a wire off of a electric fence and put a deer gland in it, and the puppies would come on and smell that deer gland, and before they get a rude awakening, and that was a method he used to break them off deer before they ever started with deer. So
yeah,
I've never done that personally, but it sounds like it'd work.
Yeah, and I've been hunting with people that had puppies, got them when they're just weaned, and throw them in a kennel, and they get 7, 8 months old, and they decide they're going to take them hunting, and they take them out, and here they are, 8 months old, and they're running up and down a fence, don't even know how to go underneath the fence. I mean, stuff like that drives me crazy. It does.
Yeah.
They can't learn just sitting in the kennel,
Well, I think there's been an awful lot of good puppies probably didn't get a chance because of that. And then you get those, and we won't elaborate too much on it, but one like we got right now that's been given every chance in the world, and it's been slow going,
Yeah.
So none of them are alike. And that, by the way, is not that Frogger pup. It's another pup. But none of them are alike. And I guess we just have to have that mindset when we get a nice puppy that I'm going to let that puppy get out there and learn everything it wants to learn. I'm going to let it have the opportunity, and then it's up to them. That junior pup was the last one I think you trained, Nubbin. How old was he when he started?
Well, when he was
black and tan.
When he was 3 or 4 months old, he was treeing the hide and in the drag, and then later on, he'd go with the dogs and run, and then he was a tree dog from the time he was a puppy. And then I started hunting him when he was 8 or 9 months old, pretty regular. And he started treeing his own coon. I think made a night champion. He's 10 and a half months old, and I never made one like that. But then he went sour after that, so I had to cull him. Somebody else has got him.
Yeah, somebody else is feeding him that $70.
Do what now?
I said somebody else is feeding him that $70 a bag dog food.
I guess I don't even know who's got him now. But,
yeah.
But now I had an English dog years ago at 6 or 7 months old, was treeing his own coon and doing it right. But that don't, every pup's not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't got experience as y'all, but the way I look at it is you can't force a dog to do anything. It's just like that little Frogger puppy. I take it out, and if Clyde trees a coon, I shoot it out to him. I don't go grabbing that dead coon and throwing it on top of that puppy. If it wants to go down there and get it, let it go down there and get it. And not alive. I'm not going to grab it alive. But if it shows interest, that's fine. If it don't, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna go down there, and I've seen people grab dead coons and slap them around with it and throw it at them and do all that.
Well, I'll tell you a funny little story. It goes back to the White River. Mark Miller has taken that fever pup, and he's had good luck with him in the night hunts. Won 6 casts altogether, 5 UKC and 1 PKC. But and kind of been proud of the fact that he never had a hold of a coon. Well, the first track we got the night at White River, we cut loose. Well, you were with us, weren't you, Nubbin? We had Kate on that first. Turned them loose, and they struck right there, right off the bat, didn't they?
Yep, right to the left.
Yeah, and right along the what we call Kansas Lake there, And they ran that track down there. They didn't go very far. How far did they go? You remember?
The one they caught on the ground?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't 50 steps. Right, they struck and went down that lake and caught the thing. I think the coon actually went out on the log when the dog got him. I don't know if he thought he was trying to get away from him or was going to swim the lake or what, but, they caught it in the water.
Yeah, and by the time I got there, the coon had Fever's lip stretched out about 8 inches. And he was not a happy boy.
He was screaming, that thing to turn him loose.
But boy, I mean, the old saying, he had blood in his eye. Well, he literally did. But but now, and Fever he wasn't any great standout or anything at all like that for the week. He was always in there. One night he fell in love with Kate. He wanted to be her shadow. I watched him on the Garmin. I have Kate in my Garmin as well. That's Nubbin's dog. And he was right there with her on that evening. But for the most part, he's always been a puppy. He likes to get kind of treat off to himself if he can. But he was always, when you turned him loose, he went hunting. He was 900 and some yards a couple times there one night. But there was one night that he really didn't want to hunt all that well. But all the other nights he hunted plenty good enough. But the trees he was making, in fact, I don't know if this was kosher or not, but he and Kevin Herron's dog treed in a snag. And I think that was the night we were hunting. May have been hunting with Trey. I don't remember. But we just pushed that snag over. And there was exactly 0 coons or animals of any type in that snag. So they flat, all those hollow trees you make are not coon trees, Some of them are dens, some of them are legitimate dens. Then you tree on a big tree that's broke off, and you can see the top there where it's been lightning or wind or something's broke it off, and it's laying over there. And it looks like there could be, and the track went in there hot and all those things. You got to give the dog the benefit of the doubt. But anyway, he didn't look real great at all at the White River. But now since he's been back home, he's hunted 2 nights and he's treed coons both nights by himself.
Well, so he's back home in his hilly country. He wasn't used to all them swamps and water over there.
Well, Nubbin, we don't talk about that a lot, but that is a factor for dogs. Being used to hunting in a certain place. Now, I know there's dogs, and we talk about it in the competition world, that travel well. They seem to be the same dog anywhere you cut them loose. But it really is a different ball game. It's a different deal out there. It's not, dogs many times they have to go hunting to strike a track. And it's flat country, and there's a lot of water, and den trees and all that stuff. So we'll give him that much, he's hunting 13 months old, hunting in strange territory with not all together with strange dogs, because Mark's dogs were there too. But anyway, well, fellas, we have talked here for almost an hour and 24 minutes. Is there anything that's burning down in your soul that you just need to tell people? You just can't stand it if we don't get that word out.
Well, the word for me is I've got to help my wife finish decorating for Christmas.
Oh, there it goes.
We got family coming here Saturday week. There'll be about 30 of us here to eat, and my wife wants everything prim and proper, and every star in place, and every red ball in place. She's grinning like a possum right now at me. But that's the way she is. She's got to have everything fixed up. And
when you go to Becky Moore's house, you think you walked through the pages of Southern Living magazine. I can promise you.
Well, she
always beautiful.
She likes to have it looking good, and I've got to help her finish doing that.
All right. Well, we're going to let you go do that before you get in the doghouse. What about you, Keston? What's on your mind? Anything?
I just hope it quits raining so I can go hunting tonight.
Well, that's right. Well, here we are still in the Christmas season, and we're going to continue with these informal visits through the holidays. Let people be. This is the time of year when podcast listening is not the number one priority for everybody, because a lot of people are off work or they're Christmas shopping, their hunting seasons are in full bloom and all. But anyway, whatever you're doing out there, do it safely. Remember, there's somebody that loves you. He died on the cross for you. And that's until right. We see you on that's
what the season's all about.
Well, you're right, Nubbin. For sure it is. And that's why we celebrate it. But guys, thank you for being on with me today. And I really enjoy any time I get to talk to you guys. For those of you out there in podcast land, if they ask you where's that old wore out coon hunter Fielder at, tell him he's gone to the dogs.